skin so gorgeous. We thank the life gorgeous. Thank the life gorgeous. I love the life gorgeous. Its torso is so tight.
Well, hello there, young people. Welcome to the Life Gorgeous. My name is Kreger. Some say Lord Kilby. Whatever you want. This is the Life Gorgeous podcast where I share my magical life in hopes of improving your life. I'll answer your questions at the end of this podcast. Right now, a very special guest, Michelle Beadle. I like her. We only met once briefly at a restaurant. Now I got to talk to her at length. She's good people. I liked her answer for pie. I really think that can tell you a lot about people. What's their favorite pie? Without further ado, let's meet Michelle. And we are dissolving. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce the two hottest blondes to ever work at ESPN. Have you been told? True. Berman pulled me aside years later and said, you know, you and Michelle Beadle were the two hottest blondes.
What?
I'm kidding. That was a joke. These are jokes.
Oh, I would have loved that. It would have been my, God, it would have been my headstone.
Okay, so let's let people know we never worked together. Mm-mm. And we met for 20 seconds briefly. Walk me through the meeting with Kilborn, what you remember.
Wait, what? No, because I feel like I met you at a restaurant, Republique.
Yeah, Republique. I was walking back from powdering my nose. You were with the table of girls.
Yes.
If you were with a guy, I would not have said anything.
What? That would have been way cooler. It would have given me points.
Yeah. And I said hi to you. Do you remember the brief conversation or not?
No, tell me. Because I feel
it was
like
just basically, what's that?
I probably was drinking. So there's chances I don't remember it.
You're very nice. You fainted for 30 seconds. No, I'm kidding. That was a joke. But no, I just said, hey, nice to meet you. I saw you when you worked for the Nets.
Oh, oof.
And I said, oh, this lady is just natural on the air. In late night, they referred to me as the natural host. And my friends now make fun of me all the time. I still check into hotels under that pseudonym natural host. When I go to the spa, I sometimes say natural host. But anyways, but you're very natural. You've been told that, right?
Yeah, but it's funny because, well, now in hindsight, I can tell the difference. But at the time, it doesn't mean anything because I didn't want to do television. So I didn't know what the alternative to that was supposed to be. I've now seen it numerous times, so I know what not natural looks like. But it's the biggest compliment I think you can pay someone in this world. Really.
Right. You said you didn't want to be on television?
No, this was all fluke. I had no backup plan to wanting to be a lawyer.
Oh, that's interesting. I remember my dad when I told him I was going to do television. The reason I loved comedy and basketball growing up, and I knew I wasn't good enough to play in the NBA. My father told me that over and over again.
Thanks, Dad.
Even though I do a lot of tangents, it's the agile mind is what I've been told. But
obviously,
there was this coach who was in my living room named Mike Montgomery, and he coached at Stanford and Cal, but he was coaching at the University of Montana, and I ended up going to Montana State. And he said to my dad, I was the 12th man at Ashland or some small college. I dreamed about playing in the NBA. You know, everyone dreams. Sure. I thought when I went to Montana State, I was going to do for Montana State what Larry Legend did for Indiana State.
Yep. Yeah.
But anyway, my dad didn't want me to necessarily go into television. He said, change your last name or just tell everybody your parents are dead. Like, you know, because there's something not cool about being on TV. You know, so that's kind of what you just said, which I find interesting.
Oh, I think to like our parents, and I think TV, I think us saying we're going to do television to our parents is probably what kids saying I'm going to be a YouTube star is now. Because it's like,
I want attention.
Yeah, good luck. Exactly. Yeah. Like, why would you want that? And it only works for about 7 people. So it's good luck. And I get it. I get it now.
The elephant in the room, I love your closet. Are you? No. But are you a shoe freak, or is that the obvious? Is that the understatement?
I mean, I have like an addictive personality. So once I'm like, ooh, let's start something, I go hard. And yeah, it's decades that haven't been worn now in probably a good 4 years. So it's just one of these days I'll have to figure it out. Either I'm going to do a monster sale or this just becomes my little museum and I never touch it. It's weird.
I love loafers.
Yes.
I love men's loafers, not the dainty kind, but the bulky kind. There's this, I get these pictures on Instagram because once you click on it, you get all those loafers. But there's a company on the East Coast called Alden, and they look great in pictures, but until I see them in person, I don't know how great they are. But it looks like you have a major problem, and we're going to get into some of those problems. The Life Gorgeous, Michelle, is very healing, and my Instagram is positive and healing. So I'm now doing for the young people a podcast. What do you think when I say the Life Gorgeous? What does that mean to you?
I think it's the ability to sort of rise above the negativity, live your best life. True. It's the original living of the best life, right?
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, that's how I feel it reflects in you.
Yes. And it's a celebration of my positive energy, my love of crumbled blue cheese. I do love clothes. I love music. I love old movies. And it's that for you, it's your celebration of your shoes, as long as it's not an addiction, unless you think you go overboard. Like no. I see multiple red shoes. We've got enough red, Michelle.
We're done with red.
Back off.
Done. I have not bought a pair of these in probably a year or two. Just because
if you have the right size, I have the original ruby red slippers from The Wizard of Oz. It's a secret. It's a thing that I invested in years ago.
A big deal.
It's like, I think it's a size 5.
Oh God, no. What am I?
No,
tiny?
I'm making that up. I don't know. 6 or 7.
It is. I bet. They're all tiny people in Hollywood, right. So they probably are little tiny shoes. Bless their hearts.
I hope I go in order here. I do have some organization. You just said tiny people in Hollywood. I wanted to know what actors have asked you out. But anyway, we could get to that.
Unemployed ones is the answer.
Oh, that is funny.
That's all it's been.
There is a thing that I want to get to, but I don't know when I want to do it. It's a disagreement we have.
Oh,
I don't participate. I guess I'm going to get into it now. We're going to move on. Let's just say we agree to disagree.
Okay.
You ever heard a singing term called phrasing? Phrasing.
Yes. Wolf Blitzer is one of the masters of odd phrasing.
No, I'm saying, no, that's not. In singing, phrasing is taking the lyrics, the beautiful lyrics that George Gershwin wrote, and putting them to the music, and interpreting the lyrics and phrasing and saying them and putting them to the music. You have to have music in you to do that. I learned that term because my father introduced me to Francis. Sinatra.
I know where we're going. Oh, geez. Just took me a second to figure.
Did you get a lot of heat for not being knowledgeable? I understand, I will not defend the human being, but the artist is considered the greatest singer of all time. And you don't have to like his voice.
That's not true.
But if you talk to people who know music, they will tell you his breathing and his phrasing. And when we're done here, I'm going to send you him singing Old Man River, where he got emotional. And he held a note for a long time and he got emotional and he's the best, but you don't have to like him as a person. Can you separate the person?
I can. I would even make the argument as a sort of mafia aficionado or lover of all things, even though, yes, I understand bad stuff happens. That's probably the cooler side of him to me. And it's funny you should say that because the response I got was very mixed. But the one response that I probably respected the most and was like, it was an agree to disagree, but also you're probably right. A friend of mine married Bernie Taupin years ago, who obviously wrote a lot of songs with Elton John, like a music legend.
Great lyricist.
Great lyricist. And he said almost exactly what you just said about the phrasing, and he was one of a kind. And
thank you.
I was like, look, I won't argue with my friends because they're not right, but I'm not also going to argue with Bernie Taupin. I think he's probably got something there.
Is there something you can say? I just don't like his voice.
I just don't like. That's what it is to me. His voice, and probably because it's been done so many times since by a variety of levels of talent.
Right.
It's become common almost to me. Whereas maybe if I was alive then, or if I was able to, it'd be a different story. But by now,
right. Do you ever, I'm just thinking of names here. No, so I listen to so much Sinatra that I can't listen to him now too often because I don't want to spoil a good thing. So I'll listen to him at the holidays
Okay,
But
that's fair.
I got to tell you, I told this on Letterman. This is just a story because I could interview you, but I feel like you might be on often, and I'll get to know you.
Yes.
I'll get to ask you all the questions about Italy, and I am gonna ask you some Spurs questions. But
Oh,
my father was very opinionated. He was from the East Coast. He sang, and he played piano by ear. My mom played piano. My brother played piano. We appreciated the American songbook, the old standards, and he was older than the neighbors. We moved outside of Hastings and lived in what we call the country, in a nice country home. But the neighbor had a barbecue, and they were all like 10 years younger than my dad. And my dad would make fun of Mick Jagger. He looks like he just vomited. He continually looks like he just vomited with his mouth. Like he would mock these guys. So the guys started talking music at the barbecue, and they said, "Hey, Willie Nelson's coming to Minneapolis, St. Paul." And I could see my dad rolling his eyes. And this is what my dad did. There have been 3 great voices in the last 50 years, and everyone stopped to listen to my dad. Frank Sinatra, Nat King Cole, and Vic Damone.
Whoa.
He had a long pause, and then he took a drink, and then we went home, and Mom and I were like, "Why? What were you doing, and why the long pause?" I couldn't think of a third. Who did I say? Vic Damone. But it's the very opinionated thing. And so we listen to all these songs. But have you ever heard of a guy, because you mentioned voice, have you ever heard of Chet Baker? And do you like his voice or not?
Is that old country?
No, it's not old country. It's old standards. He was a trumpet player.
Okay. I've seen the name. I don't know if I've heard.
Okay.
I don't know if I've heard his voice.
So let me
now I have
let me ask you musically what you listen to. That might help, because maybe we don't overlap there at all.
So here's where I lose all credibility, and I am prepared for that, and I own it. My musical taste, I am stuck in like an auto shop in 1987. I love Def Leppard. I love.
Oops.
Yeah, I love hair rock. But I love old R&B. And I say old 90s. Now we're officially in that phase. I'm not super into a lot of the stuff that happens right now, which is how you know you've passed over to the old part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like 80s and 90s, early 2000s with some 70s mixed in. Like,
okay,
that's
so let's see if we overlap. We might as well let the audience know. I know it appears that Michelle and I are the same age. I'm a couple years older, so I might listen to a little different kind of music.
No, I feel like we are close, aren't we?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm 46. What are you?
What's that?
I'm 46. What are you?
I just turned 47. So yeah, we are very close.
There you go.
Well preserved. No, but
very.
So I stopped listening to top 40 music in the 90s. I remember somebody said, Boyz II Men is I said, I don't listen to that. But the problem is, here's the problem. And growing up, in addition to the old jazz and the standards, I listened to rhythm and blues. I listened to Earth, Wind and Fire and Prince. I didn't listen to white rock and roll, but I like Bowie in the 80s. But I did like the British dance music, which some people have a problem with. So I like Psychedelic Furs. I like Morrissey. By the way, look at me. In 85, when I moved to San Francisco out of college, my favorite song was Running Up That Hill, Kate Bush, which is now... the
biggest song in the world. And these kids are like, look at this new song we found. I'm like, oh, sweet. I love that she's got all this fortune all of a sudden. Like overnight, that's worth money again. I'm like, yes, good for her.
It's funny, is what you just said, telling my nieces that Gwen Stefani, It's My Life. No, that's not her song. That was Talk Talk. That was from the 80s.
Don't tell them that.
So you mentioned the hair band. So I don't listen to that stuff. Don't tell me you ever went to a Kiss concert, because you can't.
I've never been to a Kiss concert.
Okay.
No.
You can't judge Sinatra if you've gone to a Kiss concert.
No.
I mean,
no. No way. It's not the makeup that was over the top. So for me, it didn't make sense.
What about, this is where I have some versatility. There's some songs I like. We had this band on my old CBS show, and it's funny that I liked it. I wonder what category this is. You ever heard Rocky Like a Hurricane by Scorpions?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They were fun.
That's a random one. Are they German? No.
Yes. Klaus Meine. The lead singer is Klaus Meine. And he's that Rocky Like a Hurricane. What other, when you say hair bands, those are the stuff I didn't listen to. That's not heavy metal, is it?
No, it's like Poison, Motley Crue, Warrant, like just really just where the singers were known.
So did you like them as a joke, or were you seriously liking them?
I mean, I think I like them now more. I've gone to more Def Leppard concerts in the last probably 6 years than because, I was a little young when they were at their peak to go to their concerts. So now it's perfect. And now you can go like, oh, I'm going to buy the best seat available.
God,
It's just awesome.
I cannot think of any of those. It's kind of a running joke with my friends. The cheesy song that I like is a one-hit wonder named Benny Mardones, Into the Night.
Oh, that's a good song.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That's catchy.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
But so I don't think we have an overlap. You're not into Springsteen or any of that. So a lot of people
No. I do like Springsteen. I have this running argument with Springsteen versus Mellencamp. Although I'm like, why do we have to pick,
Right.
But I also lived on the East Coast for a significant number of years. So I try to explain to them, you don't mess with Springsteen on the East Coast. You don't say anything bad about him. Nothing.
He's pretty important.
He's so fun to watch. He's 3 hours still at 70 something. Come on.
Right. He wears you out and impresses you with his endurance in concert. And I have friends that travel around the United States to watch him. Do you ever see Prince in concert?
It's one of my life's regrets. No.
Oh,
I know. Trust me.
Here's one of my regrets. My first time, I'm 22, 23 years old. And first time ever, I took a road trip with my buddy to Vegas.
Oh.
And we had an option. We were only there a couple nights, and we had an option to go see Sinatra. He was very old at this point, or go see a topless review show where they're on ice skates and they're topless.
Of course.
And we asked the cab driver, what do you think we should do? And he said, go see a rhymes with hit show. Go see a hit show. Sinatra's old, forgets the lyrics. And so we went to the topless review, and I could have seen Sinatra in person, even at the end. And that's I guess the only way I rationalize is maybe it would have been embarrassing if he was forgetting the lyrics, but I don't care. He's a legend.
I mean, that's the thing about seeing some of these acts now. Although, knock on wood, the ones I've seen, they're still going. I mean, they might have their words up there. They might have lyrics. I don't care. We all forget things. I'm fine with that.
I think it's kind of obvious that I eat out a lot. I go to French restaurants, and sometimes my friends pick up the bill, and that's a no-no. So afterwards, I look them in the eye, I shake their hand, and I say, I'm going to send you some money through Zelle. I ordered a lot of food tonight. Other times we'll go down to the park and have a barbecue. We all pitch in afterwards. I use Zelle. I send hundreds of dollars to my friends. It's who I am. It's kind of a rush. I'm down at the park. I'm wearing linen. I'm at a barbecue, and I'm sending people money through Zelle. I like Zelle. I like giving back. Where do you live? In not address, but are you in Los Angeles or Texas or East Coast?
Not anymore. Yeah, I'm in San Antonio, but again, for 20-something years. She has returned.
So what did you think of LA when you were here?
I went into it because I had lived in New York for about 13 years with a little driving back and forth from Connecticut. And to me, New York is my favorite place in the whole world. So I had always thought I would hate LA. Like I already hate it. Everyone's the same. They're all douchebags and they all want to be actors and blah, 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 blah. And it turns out if you find your little place, and I lived in the Valley, which I lived in several places and ended up in the Valley. And I found my little hole, like that's where I was going to be, my little circle. And I actually really enjoyed it. I mean, you could do all the cliches, the traffic, yada, yada, but it turns out traffic's everywhere. The weather there is still unbeatable. And I don't have as many complaints as I think people tend to have. It got expensive for no reason at some point, which I thought was funny, but it also was fun because you could sell your house over and over again and make money, which is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my whole life.
No, California real estate is hilarious. So how long have you been in San Antonio?
Only about a little over a year.
Okay.
Just over a year.
So it's interesting because I lived 3 years in New York and I've lived here in LA for a long time. And I love California. When you grow up in the Midwest, it's about go west, young man. So my favorite place is Carmel by the Sea. I used to live there, and I lived in San Francisco, which is my favorite city. It's very European.
Very.
But here are the cliches of LA versus New York, which I don't do the verses, but my friends in New York do it. So I just tell them, New York's the greatest city in the world. Fine. Congratulations. And Seinfeld, his line is, I love Manhattan. It's like a wonderful cocktail party. I'm glad I was invited. It's got that great energy. But of course, I'm the
Always.
guy that doesn't need that energy. I want the pool and the wall around my house and the sunshine. And I'm not a people person. So
Yep.
I like LA. I like the weather, the traffic I avoid. I walk places. And I just treat it as it's fun. I think people who aren't in the industry are kind of cool, where it's like, I get to live in LA with the great weather and not have the pressure of the industry and just enjoy LA. So I
Yeah.
like it, but I treat it as California. I always take road trips in the car.
Yes.
So I like it.
It's the best
But
part.
But the thing about, you don't seem to me, this is a compliment, you don't seem like a Texan to me.
Right.
You seem a little
Yeah,
more
no.
cosmopolitan.
I don't
Almost
think so
like you
either.
were born, you were born somewhere else in a faraway land.
Yes. Yeah.
Does
no,
everyone know
I,
you were born in Italy or not?
I don't know. My mom always gets mad at me when I mean, like, I'll start a job, and now we start jobs. We don't even meet people physically, maybe till like years into it. Does everyone know that you were born in Rome? I'm like, It has not come up yet. No, Mom. Well, they should know. I'm like, that's, and she has an accent. I've tried it and I can't do it. So I stopped. But yeah, I don't tell everyone that right off the bat, unless they ask me specifically, where are you born or where are you from? But yeah, she's a full Italian. Half my family's there and half my family's around America on my dad's side.
So do you go back to Italy a lot?
We used to, like, growing up, I used to spend a lot of summers overseas, but it was, now being this age, realizing what my mom did. I mean, every summer we bought a Eurail pass, and my dad was working. So she came, she had 3 kids. We got on a train. We looked out the window. If we liked what it looked like, we got off. And I'm like, 14, 12,
Wow.
trying to help her with these 2 little kids and all this luggage. It's remarkable that she pulled that off, because now I see people traveling with kids and I'm like, ugh, how do you even attempt to do that? So we spent most summers overseas, and it was, I'm so lucky. Like, I didn't realize it then, but you do now.
How did your mom choose Texas? Because Minnesota was right. Minnesota was right there.
Yeah, no, she did not. The story is, my dad was in the Navy. My mom was a hippie who, handcuffed herself to embassies and protested everything. Somehow, the language of love entered these 2's lives, and I was born, and then they came here. The idea was, my dad was supposed to finish school. He went to Cornell. Now here he is with this Italian wife. Actually, they weren't even married yet. An Italian woman and this tiny baby. In Ithaca, New York, was my mom's first stop off the plane from Rome. Not welcoming at all. She spoke 0 English. So yeah, she thought they were always going to go back, that my dad was going to finish and get a job, and the first trick that was played. And and then they slowly made their way down, like, to Dallas, and then ultimately ended up here in San Antonio. But it's funny, because as she's gotten older, I think she is better here than she is in Italy now, which is a weird thing to say. But she's also a loner at heart. So she could be anywhere as long as people leave her alone, I think. And she'd be fine.
And it's healthy. I like to tell people it's healthy being a loner. Sometimes people think it's not, but I love my
Right?
quiet time. And there's this guy, there was this quote by Jane Pauley is married to Gary Trudeau, the guy who does Doonesbury.
Oh, yeah.
And she said he has this wonderful quote, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's about, he's always in a positive mood, or he's always, optimistic. And he says something like, I just entertain myself in my creative mind. I can just have fun by myself, and I have a creative mind. And I just think I don't know what your mom is like, but being a loner, is she creative in any ways or not? Is she?
I mean, she's slowing down now, but yeah, she was one of those, she didn't think she was, which is heartbreaking, I think, to see that in people. But when she would do things, like if she would decide to do art or pick up some sort of like sewing, she could make these beautiful creations. And I was just like, Mom, why don't you try to sell this? Like, why don't you? Just never had the sort of confidence in what she could do that you would need to go out and do that kind of thing, which is a bummer. And I think it was something I probably absorbed growing up and tried to learn from that and not necessarily repeat it.
Do you yourself speak Italian?
A little bit. I'm always embarrassed because it's not perfect, but I can understand it. Like, when I'm there, I'm good. They're not going to rip me off. Like, I know what you're saying, so don't try and bull. But yeah, when I get there, I'm more confident to try it. It's funny how because we don't grow up here embracing learning languages. And so I think I want it to be perfect before I try. In reality, nobody cares. Like if you try, every country you go to, as long as you try, I think they're
Yeah.
good. It's if,
Yeah.
when you don't try that they're irritated.
So this is an oversight on my part, but I don't travel that much. I don't like flying. I do take road trips in the car, which I adore. But
Yes.
I've been to Paris, I've been to London, I've been to, for some reason, Rio de Janeiro, but I've never been, this is an oversight, I've never been to Italy, which is
You gotta go.
stunning.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be, I mean, I had friends that go and they go, you go crazy. But someone was saying, I mean, this was back in the 90s when a friend of mine went, and they said, the gas stations, the sandwiches at the gas stations have olive oil. On, it's like on the bread, and it's just the salami and the cheese. At the gas station, the sandwiches are, but it's outrageous, right?
Yeah, it's funny because it's if you say that here, they're like, oh, you're not going to a gas station to get a meal. No.
Right.
On the way home from the airport to my mom's, we would always stop at this one place because I don't drink coffee, but for some reason when I'm in Italy, I will. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is delicious. You just have a little panini, a little espresso, and you just keep it moving. And it's perfect every single time. Food there it's a passion. It's a whole different world.
Another, I don't call these random questions. I just find it interesting. And can you cook?
Oh, no.
I didn't think so.
I could follow directions.
I didn't think so. I didn't want to say that.
No.
It was an instinct.
You eat
a lot of junk food? You eat a lot of junk food?
I go through phases where I realize I'm like, you're eating like a 16-year-old boy right now. Like you need to settle down. But it's the one thing probably I miss the most too, being here and not being in LA or New York, is the options for delivery. Like obviously I'm limited now. Whereas there, anything goes. So I miss that. I know I follow directions, but I don't like I was single and lived so long by myself.
Right.
You
didn't have time to cook. You didn't have time
stupid.
to cook. Yeah.
You spend all that time cooking, you eat it in 5 minutes, and then you got to clean. No, it's not worth it.
Well, there's a thing called leftovers, but that's okay.
But how many days can I eat all those leftovers?
Right.
It's like, I've got leftovers 7 days into it. Great.
I just want to tell you something.
Do you cook?
Oh yeah, I like cooking. I enjoy cooking.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. I when I was in elementary school, Julia Childs was on PBS, obviously, and she had her show, and she did this thing with a omelet, and she would flip the omelet without a spatula. She'd have it buttered, and she would just do this with the pan and do it. And I learned how to do it in like 4th grade. I'd flip it. It was very exciting if the omelet could flip over. And my 8th grade, it was called home ec. My 8th grade home ec teacher, so I told her I could do it, so I did it for the class. But I'm not a great cook. I can make. I'm comfortable in the kitchen.
That's good.
I mean, and I used to make, because it was simple. I used to make chili. I still do, but it's so easy because I wouldn't make the cornbread. I wouldn't make the other things. I want to make one thing. I don't want to make the side of asparagus and then the blue cheese salad with the red tomatoes, which I used to do. I don't want to make 3 things. But then it graduated, and here's my specialty. I made it 4 times, and it's turned out unbelievable all 4 times. A little something called cioppino. Do you know what that is?
I love cioppino. It's
an Italian fish stew developed by the people, the Italian fishermen up in San Francisco in the late 1800s. Cioppino.
Yes, please. That's a good one.
I wanted to tell you something funny, but I don't want to ruin this for later. So don't answer this question.
Okay.
One of my questions is, it really tells you a lot about a human being. And I'm kidding, but favorite pie. So don't tell me. But I did this with a guy that you probably know, maybe better than I do, Ian Eagle. I was talking to him the other day, and I said, favorite pie. And he says, I go, what? He goes, I don't like pie. I go, well, you got to name one. He goes, lemon pie. I said, you mean lemon meringue pie? He goes, sure, lemon meringue. I said, what do you mean? Sure. You don't have a sweet tooth? No, I have a sweet tooth. And I went to the place, which I said, not candy. He goes, yeah, the gummy bears. Oh my Lord. Gross.
The Ian.
I mean,
I'm disappointed.
Very disappointed.
Like
I could say it stunts your growth, but that's not a funny joke. Let's see. Let's talk a little
Poor guy.
NBA. So do you really know the NBA well? I assume you do. Were you always a fan?
It's what I watched the most.
You're
easily.
spoiled because of the Spurs. I mean, that's a once in a lifetime.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, we moved here in sixth grade my year, so they weren't good, obviously. So we were here for tanking for Tim. Yeah. I mean, it's still played at Hemisphere Arena, like all of that. So I've known the good and the bad, and yeah, you don't see something like a mini empire being built coming. Obviously, when you see a Tim Duncan, something
that's the whole
happening.
thing.
But there's a lot of that.
The Celtics were supposed to get him, and they didn't, and the Spurs got him, and everything changed.
I don't think he would have liked Boston. Honestly, Boston wouldn't have been his thing. No way.
But he would have adapted because he's such a nice guy. I love watching him play. Yeah, I actually, this is bizarre. I was addicted to the NBA since second grade. My dad wanted us to play baseball, but I was in the hoops and I was good at it. And my dad liked the Knicks, so I liked Walt Frazier. Then I liked Dr. J. But we used to get the games somehow, the Spurs games on the radio. This guy named Terry Stembridge or something was the play-by-play man. And he would say things like, "Oh, the Iceman is so smooth. He moves like the wind." Because he was very graceful. The Iceman was graceful. He had a soft shot.
Yes.
He would bank it off the glass, a jump shot, and it would swish. It wouldn't hit the rim. He had such a soft, feathery touch, and he moved at his own speed. By the way, I always tell this to people. Yeah, I tell people I like guys because I was 6'5", and I was an offensive savant, and I would move at my own speed. And I always mention Paul Pierce because he moved at his own speed. Your guy, Paul Pierce.
In all walks of life, yes.
Yeah. He did a dunk, Paul Pierce, he was at the Celtics, obviously. And he went, it was on the road at Denver, and he was on the left side, 25 feet out. And he drove down the lane and got there in time as the big man was there, and he dunked. And Scott Hastings says, this guy, I mean, it takes him 2.5 weeks to get to the rim, but he can play. I mean, I know you're friends with him. Does he know he moves at his own speed or what? I mean,
I think so. I think he prides himself on it, actually. It's funny to me too, because Paul Pierce, the player, I never was a fan of because he wasn't on a team that I rooted for. I was like, he's so cocky and arrogant, and that's just not for me. And when I found out that we were going to be working together, I was like, oh, there's no way I'm going to like this guy. Okay, we'll figure it out. And it turns out he's probably one of my favorite people I've ever worked with ever. So it just goes to show you just have no idea what you're going to get yourself into. But he's a different bird altogether. I mean, he just kind of does his own thing and does not care. And I appreciate that.
I loved his game before the big three.
Yeah.
And somebody called him before the big three. Somebody called him the best one-on-one player in the NBA. And I remember talking to my dad. We like Paul Pierce. I was born in Kansas City. Paul Pierce went to Kansas. But I said, "What do you think of Paul Pierce, Dad?" And he says, if he was on a winner, he would be considered a top 50 player of all time. I mean, we were Paul Pierce fans. He was a stud.
I love that.
And I love that team. And I was happy for KG, obviously, when he won the ring. Do you have any inside information for me? Because I'm a little confused on why the Spurs traded Dejounte Murray. What was the reasoning for that?
I know. I mean, from what I can gather, there was no, like, behind the scenes, I don't think maybe the personalities meshed as well as sort of how we were told or how it was portrayed, which, that's just a very professional way to conduct yourselves on everyone's part. And I think a bigger part of that too was I think the Kawhi Leonard debacle was a big learning lesson. And I think the idea that Dejounte wasn't going to sign an extension, which everyone knew he was probably going to leave, to the idea of him leaving.
Well, then there it is.
You couldn't have it again. Couldn't happen.
Yeah, it's so funny because I don't have to. It's very fun in my life now because I watch a lot of movies and television shows, and I watch every single Timberwolves game.
Damn.
But I don't watch I used to memorize every player in the NBA when I was a kid. So Dejounte Murray, I didn't really know his game, and I heard the Wolves might trade for him. I was very surprised by his stats. They were very impressive, but I don't think he's supposed to be a great outside shooter. So I was just seeing what kind of player he was.
He plays defense. which,
he plays defense and
not
he
everybody
steals,
does. So.
but he had a lot of assists, which I thought was interesting, and rebounds. But yeah, so what do you think of my Timberwolves? Do you have an opinion?
So I love Anthony Edwards. That's a hot take. But my issue with the Timberwolves, I don't buy Karl Anthony Towns as the guy who can do it. And I just can't shake it. And it's just, I root for him. I have nothing negative. There's something about certain players where you just sort of watch and you think something's missing. It's not there. It's not
right.
it. Now, in conjunction with others, perhaps, but he doesn't exude alpha, and I want him to. Like, I want him to be a dog.
Right.
He just doesn't have that. Why? Where is
it? It's interesting. I'm a big Karl Towns fan, and I've noticed the national media has a problem with him, like you just said. I don't actually, but maybe I set the bar low because, for 20 years before the Timberwolves came into existence, I was an NBA fanatic. They came into existence in 1989. So I'm kind of grateful that we have a team. And and we've had a lot of bad years, but I'm just grateful we have a team. So I enjoy the wins. I enjoy the wins. When Randy Foye and Al Jefferson won, it was exhilarating, even though it was, 20 wins a year or whatever it was. I like that KG wanted to stay there. I like that Karl Towns wants to stay there. I am still stunned at Karl Towns' offensive prowess. His shooting is ridiculous. He shot 54% his first 3 years in the NBA. My favorite stat is field goal percentage. His touch is so soft. He can score with his left or right hand. He's amazing. You said something important. Maybe he can do it in conjunction with others. Yeah, with others. He needs, that Kevin Garnett was criticized for his offensive game, being alpha in the fourth quarter, post up like Duncan. Well, he's not built like Duncan.
No, he's not.
KG was the greatest big man perimeter defender, switching out on pick and rolls. He could, technically he had narrow hips and he could do this the lateral movement, and then he can't post up like Duncan. These are details that I see. But he wasn't an offensive alpha male, KG, but he hooked up with this guy, Paul Pierce and Ray Allen. So Towns causes a lot of problems for the defense. I mean, they took Steven Adams out of the series for Memphis. I mean, they double teamed Cat. He's not going to do everything, but he does bother people.
No, and I don't want him to.
Yeah.
But I do think there's something
quirky about him that bothers him. That bothers people.
I don't know what it is. Like, there's nothing I can think of that I could put it. There are a few players, I guess, like that. Although for me, Anthony Davis is probably one of the more frustrating. I don't buy as much as I think other people do. He gets more chances than any other player, I think, in recent history. Like, there's this expectation and this waiting game, as if we're all assuming that that's coming, and I don't know that it is. So for me, that's a worse situation. I think Karl Anthony Towns is in a better situation, and I think it looks like moving in the right direction. I don't know what that final piece is that would put things over the top. I really
Craigers
don't.
Craigers does.
And
you're talking about the Timberwolves' final piece?
Yeah, who is it?
Okay. Well, I don't know who it is. I know what it is, but I don't know who it is. In fact, I did a local podcast, this wonderful guy named Dane Moore, early on in the summer, because the word was they were going to get rid of D'Angelo Russell, who is enigmatic and mercurial and very stylish. I like him. Streaky shooter, which bothers me. Great passer, not a great defender, but he works on it. But he also, I don't know if you know this, but he doesn't always show up to games. He's one of those guys that I know my body. I'm going to sit this one out. And the franchise doesn't like that. I know my body. I love that. But we were going to get a different point guard. This is way before the Rudy Gobert thing. And now, of course, after the Rudy trade, we all want to keep D'Angelo because we don't think we'll get a talented. He is talented. He's just very streaky.
Of course.
And he dominated. He played well in the playing game against the Clippers. He had 29 and he shot over 50%. But I think it's a point guard. And I'm trying to think of I don't know, I want to say like a Mike Conley in his prime, but I love floor generals. I love guys that you know who I love? I think you work with Chauncey Billups, right?
Yeah.
So Chauncey Billups, when he played, it bothers me. I'm getting technical, but his field goal percentage wasn't high enough for me, but I loved his floor game. When he was with the Nuggets and with Carmelo, and they would play the Lakers with Kobe, that series, I don't know if it was one series or back-to-back years, but they were really intense. And Denver had a chance, and because Carmelo didn't back down. But at the end of the game in the fourth quarter, this is so simple. The defense is so strong that nobody can score. So what does Chauncey do? He just drives and draws the foul and gets 2 free throws. I mean, he did it on purpose. I go, that's so smart. Just drive into traffic, and because you got to manufacture points. And I saw him with the Pistons. I liked his floor game. He wasn't a pure enough shooter for me. I'm very particular about what I want. So I don't know who the point guard is, but that's what the Timberwolves are missing. They needed a power forward or center to go with Cat. They were going to look at Miles Turner for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a little bizarre that they got Rudy because he's he's a defense. He's outrageous on defense. I know.
Yeah.
You speak about people have a problem with Cat. I think people have a problem with Rudy. Is he so tall, or he's French, or what? People don't like Rudy?
He's a pretty French guy. I mean, so I want to ask you that because I kept hearing, and I understand the game evolves and it changes the style, but
right.
If I had a nickel for every time I heard somebody nationally say like, oh, the 2 big men, that's an awful idea. Well, sure. But there was a time when it was actually the holy grail of formulas that worked.
Yeah.
So why not? Maybe we evolve or we go back to, I don't know, the assumption that that's just gone forever. And I don't know if it's these 2 big guys, but it's just weird to me that they just write it off now.
No, I know it's a good question. It's a good point. Remember in the bubble year, Anthony Davis played power forward. He was playing with
he
JaVale
doesn't want to
McGee
be a center.
Yeah.
KG
weird. Liked to play with Perkins. KG didn't want to play center. Obviously, Dirk Nowitzki was a forward. He didn't want to play center. But no, I think I know it works. So I don't know how well because listen, when you play small ball, if you do shoot the lights out like the Clippers did a few years ago and then went 14 of 19 against the Jazz, and Terrence Mann had the game of his life, they'll beat anybody. But I don't know, but I do know this. I've said this many times. Too many 3-point shots bore me. It's not a balanced attack. I mean, so you're saying, oh, we're going to beat you by shooting 37% on threes as you shoot 54% on dunks or on layups and I like to see high percentages. Here's a weird fact for you. In 1987, the Showtime Lakers as a team for the regular season, their field goal percentage as a team was 52%. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Defense wasn't quite the same back then. But I don't like all the 3-point shooting. And
it's boring.
And
when
Michelle,
it's
I'm a shooter. I'm a shooter too.
Yeah,
I can shoot the lights out.
Well, because when it's ugly.
Did you ever see me play? Did you ever see highlights of me? Oh, I'll send you highlights.
Can you send me some? Or can I YouTube it? I'm going to YouTube it.
I don't know if they're on YouTube. They're on my Instagram. They're on my Instagram.
Just like a reel.
God. Oh, I had a contest with Steve Kerr. Oh my Lord.
Oh gosh, the best.
I had to let him win. The NBA told me it came down from above.
He's sensitive, obviously. You don't want to crush him.
He's a great, now you know him, right? He's a great guy, right?
Great. Love that guy.
So I've never met Pop, and which is fine. I don't need to meet people. I don't. But a couple years ago, I was at this restaurant called Bouchon in Beverly Hills. There's one up in Yountville. It's the great Thomas Keller who has the French Laundry.
Yes.
Bouchon in Beverly Hills is closed, but Bouchon is a great restaurant. They have a great, I can't remember what it's called, but they have this really cool bar there. But the bartender was a guy, and I just said, I think I was by myself grabbing a quick glass of wine, and I said, I'll have a Pinot Noir like Popovich, just to see if the guy was a sports fan, because it's fun to shoot the breeze with the bartenders. And he was, in fact, a sports fan. And he said, this is in Beverly Hills. He says, I just met Pop last week. And I said, really? How'd that go? He was great. He just said, hi, I'm Pop. No, the bartender goes, are you in town for business or pleasure? He goes, business. We just signed LaMarcus Aldridge. And the guy goes, oh, congratulations. And he goes, I'm Pop. Nice to meet you. You met the guy. But anyways, so you must know Pop pretty well, right?
I mean, as well as I guess someone who kind of is in there can, not like anyone else, but I more than people who I think are scared of him. Yes, I would say yes.
I would think you would. I mean, have you had dinner with him and had broken bread?
I've been
and had
around
wine?
him a lot. I'm like the dog because when I was an intern here, I mean, I was an older intern because I was lost and had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. So when I returned or whenever I would come back to town, it was always very like father figure, you know, asking me how life is and dating in LA, like all the fun things like that. So I don't know. It's like, I wouldn't say I know him well. I would say I know him better than probably other people for sure. Yes.
Right. And you work for the Spurs now. Is that correct or not?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have a title. I'm just a roving something because we're sort of figuring it out as we go. And it was started as one thing last year. And the next thing you know, I'm like calling games with Sean Elliott and Bill Land. And I have had an absolute blast. So we'll see. See if we keep doing that. Hopefully.
Were you there last season when Cat scored 60?
Yeah. Yes. And it's like, that's the thing. Look, we have Jakob Poeltl, who I also complain. I want those guys to be mean. I guess because as a 5'8" person who wishes I could be in the NBA, when I see a tall guy that has everything physically, I think to myself, man, if I had that, I'd be the meanest SOB and I would just crush souls. And so I want that. I want it all the time when I'm watching basketball. Maybe it's too much, actually.
So I'm clearly going long because one of us or both of us have a heart out. Let me just ask you this. Because I have more stuff to do. We're going to go to top 5 movies pretty soon.
Oh, gosh. Yet. Okay.
But wait a second. Any good opening lines that you found creative from people? Like, and not saying their name. Hey, I was just in the movie, #1 movie in America, and I was wondering if we could have a soda pop.
That would be sweet. No, Tom Cruise, we can't. No, because I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, but this is also a different perspective thing because you're obviously dealing, like for me, dealing with males and like the athlete side of things. No offense, but they're not always. They don't have to be charming and witty, right? Right. They're literally cashing in on who they are. So they've
got some money. They also have some money. Yeah.
Yeah, they have some money. So it's like there's for me. Wit and sarcasm are that's the currency that I deal in. So it's like,
then why do you Then why do you keep the gifts that they send you?
Yeah, I wish. Oh, trust me, I joke about it all the time when I see like women who've sort of on their third marriages and stuff. I'm like, did I do this wrong? Did I play the game wrong? I might have actually. Damn it.
Okay. So here we're going to keep it moving. You've been a joy, and you're very nice to take the time, and I appreciate it.
Oh, please! And I'm excited about this. I
have this segment called Lord Kilby Leadership, and this is where I share my wonderful taste, and in the process, we learn more about Michelle Beadle.
Oh, this is going to go badly.
The questions may not seem hard hitting, but you can tell a lot about a person. And when I do this, I repeat some of the questions because they're gems. I'm going to start with this one. Michelle, for the last 15 years or longer, I fall asleep at 9 p.m. Not go to bed. I go to bed at 7, start watching them. I fall asleep at 9 p.m. Is that embarrassing? Do you think I'm a square? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, what time do you get up?
I get up at 5 or 6, have my coffee, listen to my Bill Evans. That's a great jazz piano player, Bill Evans. Go ahead. So do you think it's
like it?
What do you think of that?
I envy it. I have notoriously a bad sleeper. So I envy it. I try to do that. And then next thing you know, I'm like, it's 2 a.m. and I'm still wide awake and it's such a waste of time. But
yeah, you have to shut your brain down.
I do not think so at all.
Yeah.
Sleep is beautiful.
Yeah, it's the greatest thing. You got to get 7 to 8 hours.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to jump into this one. Favorite pie. This is the hard one. Favorite pie.
Okay, so I am definitely fruit pie.
Okay.
I would go peach.
Oh, now that is interesting. Pie. Interesting. Yeah. Very sweet, seasonal.
Very, very.
There's a thing called peach cobbler. I would say this, you pretty much have to have peach pie with ice cream. You can't have it
Absolutely.
without. Okay.
I believe most pies should have an ice cream accompaniment.
Right.
Like, I think it makes it better anyways.
So let me just tell you, I don't even know. If I have to name a favorite pie,
Yeah.
I think I say pumpkin.
What? That's my least favorite pie.
Well, you have
I
a problem.
hate the texture. I know it.
You know,
It's my dad's favorite. And I'm like, ugh.
well, let me just tell you something about texture. When I was a kid, I loved cream pies, coconut cream pie, banana
Ooh, that's
pie,
a good
lemon
one.
meringue
Yeah.
pie. And now as an adult, some people don't like it. Key lime pie.
Oh, I love key lime pie.
Ooh.
A good key
Texture.
lime pie,
Texture, same texture, not quite as
but
creamy.
tart.
Oh, I love it.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just the taste. Maybe I'm trying to find an excuse and it's just really the taste for me. I also don't love like sweet potatoes at Thanksgiving. So maybe
Okay.
that might just be
Yeah.
that category.
Well, I haven't told you this. I'm savory over sweet. So my favorite, I like cheese.
Yes.
My favorite thing in the world, like my snack that is so ridiculous is white cheddar popcorn. I'll eat a bag of that. I just like savory.
Delicious.
So at Thanksgiving, I like the stuffing, the dressing with the gravy. I just love
Same.
all that stuff.
I'm with you. My sweet tooth is not the strongest, but savory.
That's
I'll eat
good.
chips and salsa every day, guacamole, like all of it.
Yeah, I loathe sugar. It's awful for you.
Wish I could say that, but yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of which, I don't know what I was going to ask you, what's your alcoholic drink of choice?
Wine. I'm
Good.
boring. I'm so
No, that's
boring.
very
and
good
even
for
then,
you. Yeah.
Yeah, I barely do that now. Like I've sort of become lame, but
This is
just wine.
This is a side note. Do you think I'm weird? I like to wear sport coats and go to a piano bar and listen to old standards and drink a martini. Do you think I'm weird, or do you think I'm perfect?
No, I think you're like a throwback to a greater time,
Absolutely.
and I like that. Wait, is it
Yeah.
a gin or vodka? It's gin, isn't it?
I
Yeah.
do vodka. Yeah,
I do too.
Gin is-
Okay, good.
Yeah. The gin is the classic one, but I like vodka. It's so easy on my body. But I really
It
cut
tastes better.
down. And what I was going to say about the sweets, that when I was in my 30s, I would have a vodka gimlet, which is Rose's lime juice, and that's way too much sugar. So I don't drink that.
Wow.
The Cosmos and the margaritas, it's way too much sugar. But anyway.
And I don't like them. And I'm in the wrong city for not liking margaritas. I get it.
Right.
I try.
A couple more questions as we're breathing. Oh, I love this one. Favorite Italian dish? Because I go to a lot of Italian restaurants. Do you have a favorite
Okay.
Italian dish?
So my go-to, it's weird because I stopped eating pork probably like 3 years ago. But this is where there's an asterisk. So my favorite dish, it's very Roman. It's pappardelle al cinghiale, and cinghiale is wild boar. So you could make the argument it's still a pig, but it's not. It's not like a farmed pig. It is anytime I leave Italy on the last night, if I'm like central or north, it's what I get. It is my absolute favorite. And then a linguine alla vongole if I'm near a beach. When I went to Amalfi, I ate it 17 straight days. I had vongole, linguine alla vongole.
yeah.
And it was a dream come true. Pasta in general that's
So,
my weakness.
Those are very, very, very good answers.
Thank you.
No, because linguine con vongole is one of my favorites. I don't eat a lot of pasta, but I go to this place called Rayo's sometimes. It's near the house.
Oh, yeah.
Rayo's Hollywood. And they have the linguine, but they have the white, which I prefer, but they also have a red sauce, and it's very good. And I love sprinkling the Parmesan on there. I like eggplant parm. I don't know if I have a favorite. I used to say, what's that?
It's hard.
What'd you say?
Italian food's hard to just pick
No,
one.
it's hard to say. I just wanted to see if, like, I've asked a few people, and they're like, like Ryan Russillo is like, chicken parm, man. Chicken parm.
Oh, come
man.
on. That's
Yeah.
not even a thing. I've never seen chicken parm in Rome. Like, I've never ordered it. I've never seen it on a menu. Like, it's just like Alfredo also. Not really a
Right,
thing. Not
right.
like here. I don't know why we do that.
I used to say this, but it offended people, so I don't say it anymore. But I used to, years ago, get veal scallopini or veal marsala.
I know, and then it became.
But yeah, so I can't say that. But
I mean,
if
look,
you
I used to
ever
get
see
it.
me at an Italian
It was-
restaurant, shh, don't say anything.
Veal.
Final question here before we go to the top 5 movies. What's your favorite sitcom of all time?
Of all time?
Favorite
Oh,
sitcom
I've
of all
watched
time?
so much television in my life. So we can't count In Living Color, right? Because it's not really a situational comedy. It's more of a variety show. So good.
Correct.
I'm going to
It's
throw
a
that out.
skit show,
I'm going to
right.
go with my God, there's so many. And they're all old, by the way. That's all the older ones. It's somewhere between Golden Girls and probably Married with Children.
Okay.
Or probably 2.
By the way, I have heard that Golden Girl is really good.
Girl?
Golden Girls, did I not say?
Oh, yeah. I thought you said there was like it still works, by the way.
Oh,
I still watch it sometimes.
Yeah, did I say Golden Girl?
Well,
maybe I did. No, but I've never seen it. I think I was ready to say it offends people when they hear that you haven't seen certain shows or movies. But
there's so much.
So I won't tell you the big sitcom I've never seen. I'm actually proud of it. But
which one? Cheers?
I do like Jennifer Aniston. I think she's very talented. But anyway,
you never saw. Honestly, it's overrated.
Okay, thank you.
We didn't know at the time as much as we do now, but it's definitely overrated.
So when I worked, I didn't watch. I just watched sporting events. So I missed Seinfeld, but obviously I had seen Jerry do stand up years ago before he did Seinfeld, and he's great and he's the best. And Seinfeld I know is the greatest, and I've seen it obviously since then.
Yeah.
But the other one I didn't watch until I walked away gracefully from late night, and now is my favorite without question. I just like to hear what people say when I give them Frasier.
Oh, so when COVID started, I rewatched so many things. I rewatched Cheers all 11 seasons, and then I rewatched Frasier all 11 seasons. And my whole judgment was, does this work today? And it 100% still perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. And they
done. Every cast member's perfect.
Yeah. I love it. Okay. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with the top 5 movies of all time.
Oh God, it's the pressure.
I think it's kind of obvious that I eat out a lot. I go to French restaurants, and sometimes my friends pick up the bill, and that's a no-no. So afterwards, I look them in the eye, I shake their hand, and I say, I'm going to send you some money through Zelle. I ordered a lot of food tonight. Other times, we'll go down to the park and have a barbecue. We all pitch in afterwards. I use Zelle. I send hundreds of dollars to my friends. It's who I am. It's kind of a rush. I'm down at the park, I'm wearing linen, I'm at a barbecue, and I'm sending people money through Zelle. I like Zelle. I like giving back. We are back with Michelle Beadle, and it's time for top 5 movies of all time. I've been doing this for 30 years at dinner, around the table, go around the table, see if there's an overlap. Here we go. Michelle Beadle, your top 5 movies of all time.
So I have a 5, but I wanted to ask you this because when I was thinking about it, I realized there are the movies that I watch over and over and over and over again. And then there are movies that sort of left a mark. And then there's a little overlap, but I didn't know this is my favorite, like that left a mark, right?
Yeah. And then you can tell me it's a great point. You could also change your list. I wrote my 5th one. I usually just kind of rotate a different one in there, and it's not in any order, but the ones you watch over and over again, I'll give you a couple of mine just to start. I don't put them in my top 5. I watch The Firm over and over again. It's not my top 5. I watch No Way Out with Costner over and over again. I watch In the Line of Fire with Clint. These are not my top 5. So these are we're saying, these are great movies, and it's almost like the greatest movies of all time. What are your favorites? But other people will say, no, I'm going to do, a guy said to me, I'm not embarrassed. I went to Titanic and it's in my top 5. I had such a great experience. God. So that's, what I'm saying. So do whatever makes you happy here.
Okay. So I love this. It's hard because there's genres for there's my favorite mafia movies and da-da-da.
Right.
I love Godfather. There was a period in time where I tried to watch every Al Pacino movie ever, including the bad ones like Cruisin', which is what it is. And so for me, Godfather, which is tough because then you got Goodfellas and Casino, but I'm going to just do the one. Bull Durham is one of my favorite movies of all time. It also happens to be a movie I've watched repeatedly, but I love it for a variety of reasons. I also love Kevin Costner. This is where it gets hard. So Life is Beautiful for me, because it's when a movie can make you bawl, not just like a tear. No, like I have to have a minute after it's over. That's one of them. For me, Jojo Rabbit was like that too. And I'm having a hard time adding Jojo Rabbit, I think because it feels so new, but it could very well be on the list. Then there are comedies, and my comedy is so teenage boy centric. So it's like, Caddyshack and Tommy Boy and like these Anchorman. Like those are the movies that I genuinely love. Also watching them over and over and over again. But if I had to pick one that I know will make me laugh, it's not intellectual. It's Tommy Boy. I quote it all the time. I think about it all the time. I miss Chris Farley.
Wow.
Is that 3? It's 3 or 4.
That was, let's see, that was 4. Well, you mentioned a few. I didn't know if you were saying they're on the list.
So yeah,
Okay.
Godfather, Bull Durham, Life is Beautiful,
Tommy
Boy. And you're right. That 5th spot would probably be around one.
Well, that's where I would have put Tommy Boy. My writer friend Fred Wolf wrote Tommy Boy, and he will be giddy that you like that.
It's so good. It's good. And then the other one is Dead Poet Society, because it also makes you cry hard. And it was such a hot cast at the time. And, Robin Williams is Robin Williams. And I have to have one of his.
Right. So we have no overlaps. It's a very good list. We have no overlaps.
Okay.
I will say that on the AFI list, Godfather is 3. It's Citizen Kane, Citizen Kane, Casablanca, Godfather. So, but a lot of people say The Godfather, and they should. It's,
I love Godfather.
It's amazing. I'll quickly do my list. I'm a Hitchcock fanatic. I'll name one Hitchcock. I could name 5. North by Northwest, Cary Grant.
Okay.
The Graduate.
That's a good one. Okay. I like that.
Chinatown.
On the list, going to watch it soon, because I remember I saw it, and then it was talked a lot about in The Offer, so I'm going to go back and watch it.
Sunset Boulevard.
Old school. Okay.
Okay. Now I'm going to do a little more contemporary one. This is where I used to have Tootsie in here, but because I like that comedy. But this is from 2004, and I loved it, and I rewatched it, and it's just a fun movie, and Sideways.
It's a great movie. Great movie. And we all quoted it we still do, actually.
Right.
I think to this day.
Love that movie.
We still do it when we drink.
I just have to say one thing. You mentioned The Offer. I went crazy over The Offer.
Yeah.
It's a mini series, 10-part series on Paramount Plus, and with Miles Teller. But I actually was friends with Robert Evans, and I hung out with Robert Evans, and I went to his house multiple times. I watched the kids' days in the picture in his screening room, and we used to go out to have dinner together. So this guy, Matthew Good, the British actor, nailed him.
Oh, it makes me so happy because he's my favorite character. Oh, fantastic. I can't wait to share this. He was like just over the top, confident, crazy, up and down, highs and lows. Like that was him.
Freak.
I love it.
I call him a freak. He was a freak.
A freak.
By the way, when you do a podcast, and you have great stories, how do you handle that? Or do you not have a bunch of great stories like Craigers?
I have no story. I have zero memory. No, you know what it is? I don't think I have great stories.
Right.
But then if I'm hanging out with friends and like something comes up, or like an actor comes up, or so, I'm like, I have a story about that. But there's that fine line I find myself sort of balancing in my mind anyway. It's just like, do I sound like an obnoxious ass if like somebody brings up, so-and-so, and I'm like, oh, well, when I did the, I don't want to be that guy. But at the same time, some of them are, I think, interesting stories. But yeah, I don't think I have good stories until they're presented. I'm like, well, I do have a story about that. I don't know whether they're good or not, but I think some of them are interesting to somebody. It's difficult.
Well, I find you very interesting. What a great wrap-up summary. Michelle Beadle, thank you for being here. You delivered. You'll be on again.
Yes.
You'll be getting a Life Gorgeous 100% cotton t-shirt as a gift.
Damn, you got merch?
We're giving those away.
You're good. All right.
Blue or green, or kind of a seafoam green color.
Ooh,
or blue,
pretty.
light blue, powder blue.
Oh, those are both good. Wow, nice.
And they'll look great on you. This was the meeting of the 2 hottest blondes that ever worked at ESPN.
It's true. It's true.
Thank you. Nice meeting
Thank
you or
you.
seeing you. Thank you. Michelle Beadle. I love helping people. I want to answer your questions. Here's question number 1. Here we go.
Hey, Craig. I'm having trouble falling asleep at night, but you seem to be so relaxed. Is it the martinis? Do you count sheep? How do I fall asleep? I need some tips. I'm a tired boy.
Little secret. I used to count Grace Kelly, the actress, jumping over a small little fence and coming to my house. I used to count Grace Kelly. She's a classic actress. Some of you might know. Vodka can interrupt your sleep. That's why I only have one a week. Red wine will help you sleep. You got to breathe. You got to shut the mind down. And I actually go to bed at 9 p.m., which is stunning to most people. But occasionally, this is a little secret, kind of private, I'm being vulnerable, I'll take a valerian once every 6 months. Sometimes I take melatonin, but it knocks me out. But Kreger sleeps pretty well. I have no pressure in my life. Question number 2.
Hi, Craig. Thanks for having me. Craig, why vodka martinis when gin martinis are clearly superior? Thanks in advance.
You're right. I'm not going to argue. The gin is classic. I like the smell of the juniper berries. Vodka's easier on my body. I can still dunk after I drink vodka. I still can do off one leg or 2 legs with the left hand. I like doing 2 legs opposite hand. So I can have a vodka and still dunk the ball. Gin affects me, so I have a flavor or a liking of the flavor of vodka, which is no flavor. But I apologize to you. I like my vodka, and you can't stop me. Next question.
Craigers, hi. Thanks for taking my question. 42 years old, divorced 3-ish years, 2 kids under the age of 10. Question is, how do I woo a woman? I've lost the touch, if I ever had it. But maybe the more apt question is, how do I just not care about wooing women? I want to be evolved like you and just feel like you're above it. So how can I be above caring about wooing the female species?
Oh, what a great question. I like you. You've given up at 42. I like that. So I would say, be yourself, be honest. There's always somebody out there, but being chill about it is a positive. Just don't be too negative or mopey. Be upbeat. There are always cool women out there, strong women out there. God, I'm glad I'm not in your shoes. Next question.
Craig, Matt from Texas here. I'm a big fan. My question is this. It's a Friday evening. You've just enjoyed your weekly martini, and you're going to sit down to watch a film. What is that film? Thank you.
Well, there's not one film. I could say Rebecca with Sir Laurence Olivier. That's from like 1942, I believe, or 40. You guys don't want to hear that. I rotate the movies. Sometimes it's Skyfall. I love Daniel Craig. I like him as Bond. I also like The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. There's no one set movie. We do discuss my top 5 movies on the podcast. I hope you enjoy that. But there's no set movie on a Friday night. But man, some of those old movies really do it for me. Alfred Hitchcock. Next question.
Lord Kilby, when is the right time to order a Gibson martini?
Well, that's a classic martini ordered by Cary Grant on the train from North by Northwest. It's a martini with an onion, a pearl onion in there. I don't do it very often. I go olives or a twist. Here's my answer. Whenever you're at home watching an Alfred Hitchcock film, and there are a lot of them, Psycho, Rear Window, North by Northwest, Shadow of a Doubt, Strangers on a Train, order a Gibson. I hope that helps. Great questions, guys. Keep them coming. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Press the button. Leave a voicemail. Ask a question. That's our episode. I'm proud of you guys. We'll see you next time.